Alright guys, welcome to the video. So we're going to be watching my dad carry a game in the T67. Now before you click away, because I know it's tier 5, most people are like, I don't really want to see tier 5. Trust me, you guys are going to want to watch this video because there is a lot going on. In this replay, it's going to be a lot of game mechanics stuff, and you're going to hear me talking a mile a minute like I like to do in these kinds of videos, right? I've watched this replay actually twice. I went to record it and then realized that I wanted to re-record it after I was in my dad's camera view and fully kind of understood what he was doing with the game mechanics, with the bushes, etc. So we're going to roll the video, but I just wanted to throw that out there and also let you guys know that if you watched my other video where I was talking about changing my camera, I'm not going to do that. I think it's just too much. And now I kind of see why most people these big streamers like don't do anything with their cameras. They don't have camera mods because in OBS it's just a nightmare, man. It's like every time you reopen it, you have to reset it if you're going to do that green screen effect or anything like that. So I just don't think it's worth it unless I actually get a green screen behind me. So again, guys, tier 5, we are in a 4-5-6 game, so keep that in mind. My dad is in his T67. He's on Westfield, and he sent me this replay right before we got into a session. I'm also going to share with you a T50 video. So keep an eye open for that. That is, again, tier 5. But mostly what you're going to see here is just my dad using the bushes to stay concealed here, to stay hidden. And he's just going to have the shots, right? Like, there are some games, especially at these lower tiers, where red tanks are just going to appear everywhere. And like, it's going to happen from time to time, and it's what happened here for my dad. And honestly, if I was him, I would start loading more APCRs in this tank so that he can prepare himself for a game like this, because he almost does run out of APCRs. He switches back over to APs before the carry portion of this game, right? But yeah, I mean, going against something like the Crocodile, it would be very difficult if he only had APs left. So yeah, I mean, and you can see up to tier 7 with this tank, so I would definitely recommend to always load a good amount of APCRs, a good amount of gold shells, right, guys? This isn't 2015 anymore. People are shooting gold shells. You can buy them with coin now, with silver, right? People are going to be loading these rounds endlessly, right? Like, it's just the way the game is. If you're really one of those players that's still complaining about people shooting gold rounds, and the reason why they're called gold rounds is because you literally used to have to buy them with gold. You shouldn't play the game, guys. Honestly, like, it's just the way it goes, man. Whenever someone faces a tank that they cannot pen with the standard ammunition, they're going to load the gold rounds. Now, I personally like to try and aim a bit. That's just me. I like to try and aim for weak spots. If I can get away with the standards, I will load them. But, like, just understand this, guys. Like, this is the way the game is, man. Everyone's going to shoot APCRs, heat, whatever their gold round is, right? So that's what's going on here. My dad's at 1,000 damage, 398 assists. This is the most assist he gets in the game. The rest is just damage. It might have even been track assist that he got. But my dad does a very, very good job here in using the game mechanics properly, right? And eventually we're going to get to that. I don't want to fast forward, though. I want you guys to be able to see the build up to this, see these shots. And another thing I wanted to also comment on is this weird silhouette thing, right? Like, sometimes when you're trying to shoot through a wall, because I noticed this when I was recording it the first time, that my dad couldn't quite get a silhouette on the AMX-40 there. And what I would encourage you guys to do is, if you think that you can shoot the tank, like you think you're shooting through a wall, just take the shot. You know, especially with a tank like the T67, take the shot and you'll break the wall, and then the silhouette should come up. It's just this weird way that, you know, Wargaming has kind of designed the game so that you can't see the tank, right? And it kind of makes sense. Like, you wouldn't see the silhouette of the tank or an outline of the tank if there's a wall there, but it kind of makes sense realistically as well, because if a commander is seeing a tank, they're like, well, there's a wall there, so we can't really see like exactly where the tank is, but we have an idea, you know, like we could see a tiny bit of the tank or whatever. You guys understand what I'm saying? So maybe that's Wargaming's reasoning for doing that. But anyway, my dad's able to clean up the M6 here. Switching back to the APs, he does start to get shots at this Churchill, and again, see how he couldn't quite get the silhouette at first? Now it's because he was up too high. But this is why I always take my cursor and I like literally go like this. I dance it to see if I can find a silhouette, right? So my dad's going to knock the Churchill down to 22 HP. But yeah, that's what I would always encourage anybody who's watching. I would always encourage you guys, like if you can't quite find a silhouette, dance the reticle, like in a circle. Because it might just be that they're behind a wall and you can only see, again, like part of the outline or where you're putting your cursor, right? You'll only be able to see the outline if you put your cursor in a specific area on the tank, right? It's just the way the game is, and yeah, I mean, you just kind of have to, play to what the game is going to give you. And sometimes it doesn't want to give you a full silhouette if people are behind breakable or destroyable objects, right? Buildings, walls, etc., fences. So T6 medium looked like he got lit on fire there, or he's just getting absolutely lit up. Hetzer's here. I don't think this is a great spot for him, but this is where the game starts to get good, guys. So I'm trying to kind of really outline what's going on here. My dad has a Churchill that's a one-shot, so he can obviously make this play to go after the Churchill. I don't think it's a bad decision, what my dad's doing right now. It's a little bit risky, but I think at this point, you want to start figuring out where people are, right? And now he's found the Churchill. He can eliminate the Churchill from the game. And then you want to start thinking about what you need to do next, right? You have to defend. So I'll give you my dad's camera view. Easy shot on the Churchill here. Hetzer goes down. And now my dad does exactly what he should do, reads the map and goes, I need to get back and defend. And I'm telling you guys, I was watching this replay and I just had smiles on my face. I'm like, he's doing exactly what he should be doing. Because I've taught my dad a lot about this game, right? But some of it's also just common sense. Like, okay, well, you have 3 tanks on the map, right? Like, you want to defend the base. These guys are going to be pushing, right? But I have, since I've really started getting good at this game and trying to be good at the game and doing these replays for you guys and just playing a lot of light tanks, constantly watching other streamers and learning, which I don't do so much anymore because I've gotten to this level. But my dad has learned a lot from me, right? And I've explained the game mechanics to him on how to pull back and go solid bush, right? So that you're not spotted. And he used the game mechanics so well in this game, man. So well in this game, man. He really, really did. And it was just putting a smile on my face. He was doing everything he should have been doing. And up to this point, he has 2,000 damage. Been pretty lucky so far. Not that he's made any mistakes, it's just sometimes red tanks are just going to appear in front of you, and that's what he's had most of this game. And he's at a 7k win 8 already, by the way. And I'd like to talk about this kind of after we go through all the game mechanics stuff here at the end, and just tell you guys, this is why I'm not a huge fan of win 8. I'm not saying the statistic is bad, right? But I will go into this at the end of the game. I'm not saying it's a bad statistic, I just think that there are better statistics to go by, like WTR, right? So my dad's going to knock this tree down. This is perfect. This is exactly where I would be, guys. The only difference that I would, the only thing I would be doing different, right? The only difference from my perspective, right, is I would be sitting like in here, in the trees, like, because you might not be able to spot someone. Now my dad does pull forward and he's able to spot the Wolverine. I'll give you his camera view. Wolverine is almost acting like a bot here. He's not even going to move. And he's able to eliminate this guy, and then T6 Medium says going to sit there for 7 minutes, and yeah, dude, he is. Learn the game mechanics, man. Like, learn how to carry a game, No offense, but seriously, man. Like, I just can't stand people in the chat anymore, man. I can't, man. I can't stand people in the chat. Anyway, my dad's going to push up a little bit here. He's trying to get to a point where he can see through these bushes. Now, this is the point where I'm going to go to the free replay camera and show you guys what I think is happening here. So he's moving up, moving up, moving up. He's like, where is this guy? Where is this guy? Where is this guy? And what do you guys think is happening right now? So Binox gets set up. What do you guys think? Where do you think this guy is based on what you see in front of you? I'll show you if you don't know, but I'm assuming a lot of you probably know what is happening here, right? So he's looking, he's like, where is this guy? I don't see him anywhere. And my dad doesn't want to just run out there in front of the Su-85, so he's going to try and keep moving a little bit, get a different angle. And I think at that point, right, I'm going to free replay camera this now. I think at that point, my dad was getting ready to, he was turning and getting ready to go down and go after the guy, because he's like, I can't spot him. Where is this guy? Well, here's what's happening, right? There's a bush right here. Did you guys notice this? There's a bush, and my dad was sitting from the perspective of where the Su-85 is, right? My dad was sitting right here behind this bush. So this bush was actually blocking his view at the Su-85. Now, some of you might be like, all right, yeah, Whirls, we get it, like we know. But some people don't know this, and this is why I have to thoroughly explain the game mechanics so you guys understand this. You can see that. The view is going just like this. My dad was sitting right here, and then when my dad turned, because you saw my dad kind of, he did almost like a K-turn or whatever the heck you want to call it. He went like this, and then he's going to go this way. When he came out to this little area right here, then this view range went around the bush, and he was able to spot the Su-85 without binocs even being up. So it had nothing to do with view range. It had to do with this bush actually blocking his view. And this is like 50% concealment basically being added to the Su-85, right? And so that's all that happened here. So now that my dad kind of sees this guy, well, now he can take shots, and he's going to pull back like this into the bush. Now, he gets spotted taking this shot, and this is why I want to go to the free replay camera one more time. It's one of two things, right? One of two things, or it could possibly be three things, but I think the third thing is very unlikely, and I don't even think it's really, I don't think it's a thing. But hear me out. The M5 Stort or M3 Stort or M5 Stort came up here. I know you haven't seen him yet, but I've watched the replay, so I can kind of spoil this for you. He came up to this building right here, and he was sitting here. Now, based on where my dad is, I think there's plenty of foliage here, and there's even trees. It depends on where this guy was sitting. I don't think it was the light tank that spotted him. I just don't think, I mean, it's possible. If you guys can kind of see this camera angle, but this guy was like here, maybe on this corner. I mean, it's possible, but I don't know. I think there's definitely enough foliage here, and also there's trees here and stuff, so I think there's enough camo where my dad is fine sitting where he is. But if you notice, my dad only slightly pulled behind this one bush right here to go dark, right? I think it's this one right here that he got behind. But if you notice, he's not fully behind that bush where you can see from my camera view now, where he was targeting the Su-85. So this is why I wanted to re-record this video for you guys. This gets really detailed, right? I think what happened is my dad was solid bush like this, right? He's fine here because his gun was behind the bush, so he thinks he's fine. But there's still a little piece of his tank sticking out. And I think what happened is when he took this shot, it dropped his camo. And the way the game works is there's like points on each tank where you can get spotted. And I think that this dropped his camo and the bush was not adding to his concealment of his vehicle because there was a little part that was still sticking out of the bushes. So when you shoot, your camo goes down to your concealment after firing percentage, which for most vehicles is 10%, like tank destroyers 11, 12%, might even be lower than that. Depends on the gun caliber and stuff like that. But this essentially would drop my dad's concealment down very low, and he would be spotted here, right? If he was solid bush here like this completely, then it would add the concealment of the bush plus his concealment after firing, which would be probably like 60%. If this is a 50% bush, because if you watch Ayuxin, guys, there's also percentages of concealment for bushes. Like, isn't this wild? This is just insane to me. Most bushes are 50%. Usually if you like knock down a thin tree or something like that, that might give you like 40 or 30. I think there's like 25 or something. Watch Ayuxin for this. I'm not going to make a mistake and say something that's wrong, but I do know there's different concealment percentages for bushes. Now, pretty much, I think every bush you see in the game, like if your silhouette looks like this where you're completely covered, I think it's a 50% bush, right? So essentially, if my dad was fully behind the bush, this would give him the camo of the bush plus his concealment after firing, which at 234 meters away should be more than enough, unless the Su-85 is running like, you know, recon, brothers in arms, situational awareness, and binocs, which I guess is possible. Maybe he can cut that down enough. It really just comes down to mathematics, guys, and you guys can calculate this. But I just do not think that's what's happening here. I think my dad just didn't pull far enough. You see that? Behind the bush. And I think he got spotted. I'm not sure if it was the M5 Stort, but you guys leave a comment down below. You let me know what you think. My dad's going to take this shot here, right? trying to get through this, guys, but there's just so much. I wanted to pause and explain these things to you guys. That's what my channel's all about, right? So bear with me. I'm sorry if this is too much for you guys, and you guys are like, yeah, Whirls, we know, but I have to explain these things, right? So M5 Stort appears here, and my dad's kind of like, what do I do? What do I do? Like, I want to clean up the Stort, but the Stort goes dark, and now my dad has lost pretty much all of his HP to that one, we'll call it a mistake, but even then, like, my dad used the game mechanics properly there, right? And he's going to get a pixel shot on this Stort here. Watch this shot. This is an incredible shot, by the way. He fully aims, he takes the shot dark, and it hits the Stort. Like, that was incredible. But yeah, I don't even know if I want to call this a mistake, right? Because my dad did use the game mechanics properly. He pulled back behind the bush. He went solid bush. I just think he didn't put his entire tank behind it. So yeah, we can kind of call this a mistake, I guess, but it is what it is. It's just game mechanics stuff, and I don't think he pulled far enough back. And now he's not going to be spotted here because he's behind bushes right now, right, to take this shot. So he's going to take this shot. He's going to try and hit him one more time here. Luckily, the Su-85 misses him. I don't think my dad thought he was going to be spotted, maybe. But he does get spotted there, and he's trying to clean this guy up, but he is a one-shot, so he has to be really, really careful. Luckily, this guy has missed, and now we're in a situation where both tanks are one-shots, right? And my dad has essentially a 1v1 now. He's already almost won a 3v1. I mean, this was a 3v1 up to this point, right? So he sees the Su-85. He's going to try and hit him here like this. I think what happens is my dad is scared to get spotted pulling up any further because there's a little gap here, but I think he would have been completely fine. I would have pulled up at that point. I would have pulled up completely and just taken the shot there with the APCR. But it is what it is. My dad takes the shot there on his hatch, he misses, and now he's going to try and flank the guy instead, which I don't think is a bad idea because he can actually stay pretty low here and just go all the way around, because you saw the Su-85 pull down a little bit there before my dad took that shot. So that's what my dad's going to do here. He's going to keep going and flank this guy. And here's one thing that I would change about this, one thing that I would do differently, is you see how there's bushes here and stuff like that? You can get really creative here. So what my dad decides to do is he's just going to poke out like this and just go right after the guy. And to be honest, I don't really blame him. You're running out of time, and you get so stressed in these situations. My dad does not get in these situations very often. I don't get in them often, but I do get in them more often than he does. And even when I get in them, I'm like, my hands are like this. Like, I'm like shaking. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I could really carry this game for the team. It's amazing, like, how into it you get, right? It's just, it's mind-blowing to me, like, how, like, it's literally like you're playing a real game, like soccer or basketball or football or something. And you're like, oh my God, man, I could literally, like, catch this ball or whatever and win the game for the team, right? It's just, you get really into it. But anyway, there's trees here, right? There's bushes here. There's a tree here. I would have tried to get really fancy with this. Maybe try and stay out of the proxy of the Su-85 because it was really close. But you can knock this tree right this way and get yourself extra camo and then pull out and take the shot. Like, there's things you could do here. You can even poke around like this, maybe, you know, on this side, because there is tree and bush here, and you should be able to get to poke this without being lit in the T67 because it has so much concealment that you might be okay to also poke this, you know, and get the first shot opportunity. But my dad just decides to go for it, right? He goes for it. The Su-85 turns, misses him, and they basically shoot at the same time. My dad ricochets right off the front plate there or whatever. But because the T67 has such a fast reload time and good DPM, my dad's able to get the second shot there kind of into his lower plate, and my dad wins this game. It was a phenomenal game, guys. It was a phenomenal carry. I'm sorry it took me so long to get through this video. Actually, the old one was 20 minutes, so I don't think we did that bad. We're at 18 and a half now. But 7 kills, guys, 2,645 damage, 398 assists. This was a 14K win 8 game, and I think my dad did everything fine here. I would have done this end play differently, and I think he only made one mistake, really, in this entire game, and that was just not pulling back far enough when he was back here to get shots at the Su-85, right? And again, you guys can certainly correct me on the game mechanics, but that's what I think happened based on my knowledge of the game mechanics. I do not have end plates for this game, guys, but I just wanted to give a shout out to my dad. You know, this was a phenomenal game. He's Whirlybird 1964, in case you guys didn't know this, Baboon 2 clan. Phenomenal game by him. I had to showcase it. And again, guys, so much game mechanics and stuff, right? So go back and rewatch it. If you don't know about all the game mechanics stuff, I hope that this helps you out and doesn't confuse you more. But as always, I always say this in my videos, I recommend watching Ayuxin for game mechanic stuff, especially when it comes to concealment and bushes and all that stuff. If you go to my channel homepage, you can just click on my name right down at the bottom of the video here. It should be like right here somewhere or whatever. You can click on my name and go to my channel homepage, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you'll see his name there in my Tankers I've Learned From section. Now, one more thing I wanted to cover in this video is Win 8, guys, right? Win 8, what I want to see Win 8 do, if they could do this, which I know they won't change it now. This is such an old statistic, and Win 8 has had its troubles, right? One of its weaknesses is that it doesn't account for assist damage because there wasn't a way to calculate it back in the day, right? So they just never changed it. But here's my problem with Win 8 and why I have a problem with people that say people are bad if their Win 8 is not good. And that is tier level, right? So at tier 5, my dad's easily picking up a 14k Win 8. Now this game was insane, right? But like if I only played tier 5, I would have like easily a 5k Win 8, probably more like 6k. Like, it would be, like, so absurd, guys, it wouldn't even be funny. Like, to me, it's not, this isn't even funny. Like, it's just, that's how Win 8 works, where if you're going to play against players that are not as good at the game, it's just going to be easier to pad Win 8 at lower tiers. You can do a lot more damage, more kills. There's people that are just not as good at the game, right? And you can easily, like, I have, like, a 6k Win 8 in my Covenanter. Like, you can easily pad Win 8 at the lower tiers, right? And so this is why I just hate it when people make comments like, I know there was one guy that commented on my Prokhorovka video, and he was like, why are you instructing people on how to play the game when you don't even have a 3k Win 8? My Win 8 is 2800. I don't think that's terrible, but keep in mind my average tier is like just over 7, right? There are some people that have a better Win 8 than me that average like a tier of 9, right? So those are really, really good players. But there are also players that average a tier of like 6 and have a Win 8 that's worse than mine, right? Like if I averaged tier 6, my Win 8 would probably be like 3,500 or something, right? So what I want to see Win 8 be able to do is have Win 8, right? So like I use WTR rating because I find it to be, with XVM, I use WTR rating because I find it to be a more effective statistic to determine a person's reliability and skill level, basically. That's why I run WTR rating, which is World of Tanks rating, and I think it's much better. But if Win 8 could say something like 2k Win 8 at average tier 6.17 or something like that. You understand what I'm saying? So like if it had Win 8 and then had like an at symbol 7.23, you can be like, all right, this guy's average tier is 7.23 and his Win 8's 2,500. He's a pretty good player. This guy's average Win 8 is 3,500 at 4.75 or something. Okay, this guy only averages a tier of between 4 and 5. He's probably not that good of a player, right? So this is just me ranting about this, guys. I know probably a lot of you have clicked off the video by now, but I have to mention this as well in this video, just because it came up when I was recording it previously. So again, no templates for this video, guys. My dad didn't send them or anything. I mean, you don't really need to see them to enjoy this game, right? There was just so much going on in this game, so much to talk about. I think we're good, guys. 23 minutes. I'm sorry to keep you so long, but hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you've learned a thing or two from watching this video, and I will catch you for the next one. Take care of yourself. Until then, bye-bye.